Children, do you guys remember learning about Abdu'l-Baha in our class? What do you guys remember about him?
He was very kind and loved everyone, especially children.
He said that all the different races and colors of people were like different colored flowers in a garden. It's more beautiful than if everyone was the same.
And that all of humanity is one big family.
I remember a song that we learned about him. Can we sing it now?
No, not yet. Children, I want to introduce you to Carl. Carl, when he was younger, knew some of the believers of Abdu'l-Baha. Carl would love to share some stories about Abdu'l-Baha. Carl, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. And yes, I was younger then, but I remember those early believers and recall what they said like it was yesterday.
Did you meet Abdu'l-Baha?
No, unfortunately, but I knew people who did meet Abdu'l-Baha. I saw that Abdu'l-Baha changed their lives for the better. Hearing their stories about Abdu'l-Baha changed my life too. It's called transformation, and it means that you grow spiritually and become the person that God intended you to be.
Please tell us a story, Carl. We can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, story!
Okay, I'll start with Juliet Thompson. She was a painter in New York. She was with a group of American believers who were on pilgrimage to the Holy Land in 1909, where she met Abdu'l-Baha. Juliet told me a story about Abdu'l-Baha's visit to America in 1912, when he asked her to paint his picture. Needless to say, it changed Juliet's life and caused an even bigger change in one of her best Baha'i friends, a woman named Lua Getzinger. I remember Juliet telling that story like it was yesterday.
When I was 10 years old, a very presumptuous idea took possession of me. I began to dream of someday painting the Christ. I even prayed that I might. Please let me paint him when I grow up as the King of Men. And I never lost hope of this until I saw the Master. Then I knew that no one could paint the Christ. Could the sun with the whole universe full of its radiations or endless flashes of lightning be captured in paint? Imagine my surprise and dismay, fear, joy, and gratitude all mixed together at the news given me by Mrs. Gibbons when the Master first came to New York. The night before he landed, she'd received a tablet in which he said, "On my arrival in America, Miss Juliet Thompson shall paint a wonderful portrait of me." Finally, the time to paint the Master arrived. The Master asked, "Can you paint me in half an hour?" "A half an hour, my lord," I stammered, appalled. "I can never finish a head in less than 2 weeks." "Well, I will give you 3 half hours. You mustn't waste my time, Juliet." I went in a panic. He was waiting for me in the entrance hall, a small space in the English basement where the light, not much of it, comes from the south. In fact, I found myself faced with every kind of handicap. No light, no room, and I had brought a canvas for a life-size head. The Master was seated in a dark corner, his black abba melting into the background, and again I saw him as the face of God and quailed. How could I paint the face of God? "I want you," he said, "to paint my servitude to God." "Oh, my Lord," I cried, "only the Holy Spirit could paint your servitude to God. No human hand could do it. Pray for me, or I am lost. I implore you, inspire me." "I will pray," he answered, "and as you are doing this only for the sake of God, you will be inspired." And then an amazing thing happened. All fear fell away from me. And it was as though someone else saw through my eyes, worked through my hand. All the points, all the planes in that matchless face were so clear to me that my hand couldn't put them down quickly enough, couldn't keep pace with the clarity of my vision. I painted in ecstasy. free as I'd never been before. At the end of the half hour, the foundation of the head was perfect. The beloved master's portrait is finished. He sat for me 6 times, but I really did it in the 3 half hours he'd promised me. For the 6th sitting, when he posed in his own room on the top floor, I didn't put on a single stroke. I was looking at the portrait, wondering what I could do, when he suddenly rose from his chair and said, "It is finished." But the 4th sitting is the one that I'll never forget. Lua Gessinger was in the room, sitting on the couch nearby, when the master smiled at me, and then turned to Lua in Persian. "This makes me sleepy. What shall I do?" "Tell the master, Lua, that if he would like to take a nap, I can work while he sleeps." But I found out that I could not. What I saw then was too sacred, too formidable. He sat still as a statue, his eyes closed. Infinite peace on that chiseled face, a godlike calm and grandeur in his erect head. Suddenly, with a great flash, like lightning, he opened his eyes, and the room seemed to rock like a ship in a storm. With the power released, the master was blazing. The veils of glory, the 1,000 veils, had shriveled away in that flame, and we were exposed to that glory itself. Lua and I sat shaking and sobbing. Then he spoke to Lua. I caught the words, "Herald of the covenant." Lua started forward, her hand to her breast. "Me!" she exclaimed. Never shall I forget that moment. The flashing eyes of Abdu'l-Baha, the reverberations of his voice, the power that still rocked the room. God of lightning and thunder, I thought. "I appoint you, Lua, the herald of the covenant, and I am the covenant appointed by Baha'u'llah, and no one can refute his word. This is the testament of Baha'u'llah. You will find it in the holy book of Aqdas. Go forward and proclaim, this is the covenant of God in your midst." A great joy had lifted Lua up. Her eyes were full of light. She looked like a winged angel. "Oh, recreate me," she cried, "that I may do this work for thee." By now I was sobbing uncontrollably. "Julie wants to be recreated too," said Lua, "not even in such a moment forgetful of me." But the master had shrouded himself with his veils again, the 1,000 veils. He sat before us now in his dear humanity, very, very human, very simple. "Don't cry, Juliet," he said. "This is no time for tears. Through tears you cannot see to paint." I tried hard to hold back my tears and to work, but painting that day was at an end for me.
I love that story, and I felt like I could almost see her. But I have a question. What's the covenant?
Well, it's an agreement between us and God. It makes sure that we remain united and don't split apart and go separate ways. Abdu'l-Baha was appointed by Baha'u'llah as the center of the covenant.
Oh, I get it. So it's like our teacher tells us to love each other and not argue.
Yeah, something like that. Ready for another story?